We are here to talk about 83 Glizzies going down today. The AFC, the whole AFC. Who's on the hot seat? Storylines. Harrison's mixed brother, if he's going to be the starter the whole year or not. You got Sam's Jets, or both of your Jets, or whatever Harrison believes in at this point in time. Excuse me?
Who knows what
Yeah,
Harrison's doing?
who knows? Who knows? We definitely know Sam is a Jets fan, so we'll definitely get to talk about that as well too, and run down who we have as our picks for each division, along with who we have taking it all, and who's going to win the Super Bowl or even be in the Super Bowl. We have the MVP, Rookie of the Year, Coach of the Year, and we probably not, but we'll let you guys know that we are definitely going to do our picks very, very soon for the first week of the season, being that it is right around the corner. So first and foremost, gentlemen, did you eat any glizzies today?
I did not.
I did not either. I talked a big game about watching, but I didn't watch.
Well, Farkas watched, and he made sure that he sent me a picture just because of you. He interacted with our post, and he watched and made sure he sent me a lovely little picture of it, and then told me that he ate 83, which apparently is the world record for
it's the world record. Yeah, I'm reading about it now. I was catching up.
I was also told that a young lady ate a watermelon in 3 minutes, so there's that too.
He beat him 83-66. That's not close.
Kobayashi's highest record was 64.
All right, so personal best.
He was around his average. But again, he hasn't been in a competition since 2009, and you're going against the guy that's basically been the world champ every single year since, so except for like one. So there's that.
So Joey Chestnut beat his quote arch rival by like 20 hot dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Game. We're good.
Yeah. I mean, when he popped on the scene. I mean, before Chestnut popped on the scene, Kobayashi was definitely.
Oh yeah, he was
definitely that guy. And then Chestnut said, "Hold my water and my bun," and then
my
hold my buns,
hot dog bun soaked water. Anyway,
weird shit.
We'll get Farkas on here to break it down.
We will not get him on here to break it down because
kidding.
we will not get him to stop about it. I guarantee that. I would not. No. So AFC, both again. Sam's definitely a Jets fan. Harrison is possibly a Jets fan, depending on which direction the weather is blowing. But we'll definitely get to touch base and see what Sam really thinks about his team this year. But we got some coaches that are potentially on the hot seat. Sean McVay, your coach, Rob Saleh, and then Kevin Stefanski. And I put and said that's based on what happens with Deshaun Watson, which we'll dive into. A couple storylines to preface this as we're going through some things here. Will Josh Allen do well without Stephon Diggs? Will that trade hurt the Bills or not? You have Justin Fields. Will he start at some point, or will Russ just continue to be the quarterback? Chiefs, will they three-peat? Bengals, can they return to being a top contender? Because we know Slim Shady, a.k.a. Joe Burrow, possibly can he get back to that form? The Ravens, can they finally get over the hump and beat the Chiefs? It doesn't seem like they can. And we've already said about Watson. So, gentlemen, let's dive right into this, the AFC East. We have the Bills, the Dolphins, New England, and the Jets. Sam, I'm going to let you start since you have been the resident Jets fan. And maybe you start with your Jets or just see how you feel about the division as whole.
Well, I was pretty pessimistic after the Aaron Rodgers stuff last year, and then I famously started drinking the Kool-Aid, right? So I was into it, and because I know, and you could see even with poor quarterback play how good this defense was and the talent on the offense aside from the offensive line, which I do think did get better this year. But I have no expectations, dude.
Okay.
I have none. I'm like losing Aaron Rodgers in 4 snaps. We talked about it last year. Probably one of the lower points of my sports fandom, and I'm almost 40 years old. So like that's it. It was bad. Like
would the lowest be the butt fumble?
Yeah, there was that game was it was just a point where it wasn't even just a butt fumble. Like there was a span of a couple minutes in that game where it was just like the wheels fell off, like Edelman punt return, right? Like there was, it was nuts. Like yeah, that was up there. The only other thing I can compare it to was the 3-0 loss that the Yankees had against the Red Sox in 2004, and I was going to school. Yeah, I was going to college in Connecticut, and literally my campus was on fire from Red Sox fans, and they partied harder when they beat the Yankees. Came back from behind after the Yankees like beat them 19-8 or something in Game
Sam,
3.
You really didn't have to do this.
No, I'm telling you, that's like it's all time. I have no expectations. I have none. So could the wheels fall off from the beginning? Sure. I think the schedule isn't that bad. I think the team is really good. I have questions about the other teams in this division. I think they could easily make the playoffs. I could easily see Robert Saleh getting his pink slip before Thanksgiving at the same time. So, this is what happens when you throw all of your eggs in a 40-year-old quarterback, future Hall of Famer. He's walking into Canton backwards with one good Achilles. So we'll see. I think this team is really talented. They're going to go as far as Aaron Rodgers can bring them. But I have questions about the Bills. Losing Stephon Diggs, I mean, they really like kind of got off of Diggs near the end of last year. They were definitely running the ball more. I really like James Cook. But questions there, like who's going to catch the ball? Like aside, Gabe Davis has gone too, and he did so much for that team aside from just being the go route guy. Like he's a great blocker. He was a captain of this team. So there's questions there. What's his team going to look like? So, we talked about the Patriots. If you tuned in on saw some bonus stuff on Instagram, I could easily say they're going to be in the top 5 draft pick next year. So I'm not even looking at that. But and then the Dolphins, you'll see. I mean, like I really like Mike McDaniel. I like how this team is built. They're fast. They're all a year older. They all can get hurt. They all most of them have a history of getting hurt. I don't know if like Bradley Chubb's even like, I think there's some guys on the defense that aren't even healthy to start the year. I haven't. Yeah. So, I mean, like it's going to be tough, but I like what they're doing down there in Miami. Clearly they do too. They just locked up Mike McDaniel, who you could easily make an argument if they make the playoffs and then get bounced again, could he be on that hot seat too? So yeah, a lot of question marks there, but I kind of think it's a toss up. I'd lean towards just Miami or New York. There again, I could easily see Sean McDermott getting the can too. But I guess that's kind of how I look at the AFC East right now. Off base, what do you guys think?
I would kind of just disagree. I really like the Jets' talent as a whole. I think it's enough to win without Rodgers. So I really love Tyrod Taylor. I think he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in this league. Yep. When given an opportunity, he has played extremely well. He just kind of always hit that bump in the road, an ill-timed injury here and there, where he just never had the chance to run a team.
T-Mobile.
Yeah, I think, if Rodgers were to go down, I don't see Rodgers playing every game this season. It's just, as 40 plus years old, it's just an impossibility, I think. But I think they have an adequate backup to be able to kind of carry the load for the rest of the roster. And they have the best talent in the AFC East, up top to bottom on that roster. Just hands down, Breece Hall, you name it across the board. So they're my wild card team. I still really like the Bills. I think it's addition by subtraction. I think Stephon Diggs was really bad in that locker room. I do like some of the wide receivers they drafted and signed. So you got, Keon Coleman and Curtis Samuel coming in. So I think it'll be spread out a little bit. I think Josh Allen is going to have a great year. I think he's the best quarterback in the league in that division by far right now. So, sorry, not the league. Definitely. I mean, he's top 3. He's top 3 in the league.
I ain't arguing that.
No, definitely not.
So for a division that I think every team has some holes, I still like what the Bills are bringing to the table. I think they're a tough team. They play obviously really well at home. And I think they're just going to continue on that path. It would be the 4th straight division title for them. And I'm just going to rock with the Bills.
So I'm a tough critic on Josh Allen. I have been
Sure.
for a while. I do believe he is a top quarterback in this league, and that's why I'm tough on him because of some of the boneheaded stuff that he does. But this is a put up or shut up year that I feel for him. Like now he hasn't. Prior to getting Stephon Diggs, he wasn't doing well. He got Stephon Diggs. The narrative was he took that next step. Now he doesn't have Stephon Diggs. Now who are you? Right now, this is an opportunity for himself to show the league, like, it doesn't matter who's here. I'm going to make you good. Same with the person that is the best quarterback in the league that sets this standard for everybody, Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't matter. Look at his receiving core last year, and they still won the Super Bowl, right? So it's also a paying homage to the guy that's the quarterback for your team, the Jets, Aaron Rodgers. He can make any receiver look great, right? But for the Bills, I feel like a lot of these key losses is going to have them have a down year. Now, their down year is different from other teams' down years because I believe that they're still going to be good and still be in the race and have a wild card opportunity to do what they have to do. But I do think they're going to have a down year in a sense of where they normally are. For the Jets, if Aaron Rodgers is 4/6 of what he has been in his career, the Jets will go pretty far. If you think of who the quarterback was last year and how terrible that was to watch with such a great team around him, if Aaron Rodgers is 4/6 of what he used to be, they will be a playoff team. There's no doubt in my mind, to the point of Harrison, which you made of the kind of stacked team that they have. They have playmakers everywhere. The only thing for me right now that's kind of making me be a little bit hesitant is, yes, Sam, the whole Kool-Aid and everybody gassing up. And if you watch ESPN, it's a Jets festival, and then just talking, well, the Jets can be this and that, especially if you're watching Greeny. That's a whole nother situation. But I think a part that we haven't even spoken about is Hassan Reddick. That's a key part to that defense.
Yeah.
And not knowing what the hell is going on there, you're getting one of the best pass rushers that has been that. He's demanding all this money, has not been to training camp, OTAs, nothing. Hasn't even been in the building once, and that was to sign his contract. They need him on that line to be a difference maker because they have a phenomenal defensive line already, but that is going to bring them to a whole nother level. So I think just a couple of those key things can project them to a different atmosphere. And see what that is. I have the Dolphins higher than all of them. It's Josh. I mean, it's McDaniel's what, 3rd year, 4th year?
I think it's year 3.
3.
Right? I think it's year 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so 3 years in, the team. You've already heard Tua, which we kind of didn't even touch on. The Tua and what's his former coach, the one that got sued the league?
Brian Flores.
Thank you. The whole saga with that, saying Flores basically didn't empower him, which I have a lot to say about that. So I would love, Sam, clip this. We are going to have another conversation about that because I still want to talk about that. But McDaniels, he is a player's coach. They love him. And his offensive scheme is phenomenal. And I think that's going to take them over the top. The only problem I have is with Miami and any team that plays in the warm weather during the wintertime never really bodes well. So
we saw them going to KC in that ridiculously cold game, and this,
and they faltered.
Literally froze. Literally
faltered. And the Patriots, as you said, Sam, we already talked about them in our social media clips, so go check that out if you haven't already. So with that said, since I'm already speaking, I'm just going to go with the Dolphins as my winner for the division this year. They haven't won it in a while, so I'm going to give them a little sprinkle of the seasoning and see what they do.
Dolphins have a brutally tough schedule to end the year in cold weather too. Yeah. So I would look out for that, especially how inept they looked last year, leading down to the playoffs. So you got at Green Bay. Then you're home against the Jets. At Houston, obviously a dome, but Houston's a very good team.
Yep.
Versus San Fran, very good team. At Cleveland on Sunday night, that's going to be freezing in December. And then at the Jets to close the season. So
may have to reconsider that. That's bad.
It could really,
that's not
it could really come down. I think this division will definitely come down to the final week.
I feel that way too.
I feel like, we were talking about this off air a little bit. I think the three teams that are voting for a playoff spot in this division could easily all make the playoffs. So
yeah, agreed.
So yeah, I initially went with the Dolphins here. So I'll just, for not looking at everyone else's schedule, I didn't really put that into. I'll still say the Dolphins here. I like this team. I like McDaniel. I like this team. They all seem like they, in different ways, Tyreek and Tua, they all have chips on their shoulder one way or the other, and they want to prove something here. But so I'll go Miami too.
Harrison.
Oh, I'm going Bills. Yeah.
Okay.
Miami's schedule is brutal on the home stretch.
Okay. We'll go right to the best division in the NFL, the AFC North. Hands down, in my opinion. I would love to see you guys argue with me about that. But the Ravens, the Bengals, Browns, and the Steelers. Yes, we know that the Browns, we don't know what's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. We definitely don't know what's happening in Pittsburgh and how that's going to pan out throughout the season, quarterback-wise. But we do know who their head coach is, and Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing record in the NFL, and I'm pretty sure that's going to continue. He's already alluded to there will be a Justin Fields package, which I'm very curious as to what the hell that's going to look like as we move forward. Don't know. I'm more curious about what this offense is going to look like in general with Arthur Smith. So, I mean, we saw what happened down in ATL. I'm very curious to see what happens. I don't think it can get any worse than Mr. Canada, but we will see how that goes. The Browns, one of the best defenses in his league, right? And that's not even that's no disrespect to Pittsburgh because they have a phenomenal defense with a phenomenal defensive player in TJ Watt. But Cleveland, phenomenal defense. The only thing that's in question for me is just their offense and the health on that side, but also the defense sometimes as well, because I believe Denzel Ward is also is a mystery, and he had another concussion and might have to retire early in his career because this is like his sixth concussion that he's had so far. So he's probably has to contemplate retiring for his health. We'll see if that actually happens. But I guess I'd stop here and ask as I want to continue, because what do you guys think it's going to be like for Deshaun Watson this year? Like, what Deshaun Watson do you guys think we're going to get? That's kind of it's been overshadowed by everything else that has gone on. But I think this is such a huge talking point that needs to really be talked about. Like, what are we going to get from him with this big ass contract that he has? Who are we getting?
I mean, it's going to shock you guys, but Deshaun Watson last year as a starter was 5-1. So, with all the narrative around him and everything that went on last year, when he took the field and played, he was 5-1. So they're going to be tough. And I'm not going to argue with you about any point about this being the toughest division. I think they have three of the best defenses in the league. I'd take the Steelers as the number one defense. The Steelers defense is absolutely loaded. They added so much, and they're going to be very, very tough to play. Yeah. They're going to run the ball a lot. It's going to feel like the Steelers of old. I don't think they have enough firepower on the outside, but that's just talking about the Steelers. But back to the Browns, I mean, I think the record speaks for itself, and they brought back a lot of the same pieces. They could make some noise as well. They're still a good team, as with all the teams in this division.
Sam, what do you think? What's going on with Watson?
There's been a lot of just weird stuff going on in the offseason with Watson. Really, I mean, it's been years with Watson. This is year 3 now, so he was suspended, I think, the first 11 games. He was hurt a lot. And I understand year 1 not playing well. You haven't played football in almost 2 years, and you have everything else over your head, which we talked about extensively and don't really need to bring up. But last year he was hurt, and then there were just kind of questions of like, what's going on there. But then you see the talent on this team with, again, a Joe Flacco that was left for dead, at some point. And I'm not saying that Joe Flacco is like this, huge talented quarterback anymore, but he played lights out with a lot of the similar pieces here. Now you add Jerry Jeudy, who didn't work out in Denver. There's a lot of mixed emotions there. I found it interesting. I mean, maybe this was the plan the whole time. Watson, they restructured his contract. So he's making all guaranteed money, and it's like $40 million a year guaranteed. So that's like hitting the cap really hard. So they restructured it. So basically, like next year, beginning of next league season, he's making like 80 million or something. I'm like, that's his cap hit. So I feel like they're stuck with him, like even more than they would have been a month ago because of restructuring this deal. And when you give a guy like that a contract like that and give away the assets you did, you're in it for the long haul. But yeah, this is the year. I mean, week one's a test. Cowboys, it's Tom Brady's first game. It's just there's going to be a lot of attention there just because, we can roll our eyes. I'll be the first one to do it, but like Tom Brady's commentating debut and it's Fox Sunday game of the week and blah, blah, blah. Like there's going to be a lot of media there. There's going to be, it would be a huge thing if Deshaun Watson could come and play the kind of football that we saw him play years and years ago. But I'm not convinced. I mean, I'll take a deeper look. If he was 5-1 when they played, I think the talent's still in there. He's definitely a different type of quarterback than he was in Houston.
He was 5-1. He had 1,115 yards. He had 7 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in those 6 games.
I think now that I think about like 5-1 and then Flacco comes in, I think we maybe quarterback doesn't really matter on that. Like obviously it matters, but obviously all the talent around them, they were able to kind of seamlessly go to Flacco. Who, no knock on Flacco, but he's ancient.
Yeah.
So maybe with all this talent around Deshaun or whoever it is under center, they're probably still a very good football team, regardless of who's playing quarterback.
And Nick Chubb, he's on the PUP list here. He had he blew out every ligament in his knee pretty much. And I'm one of my favorite players in the league. I'm hoping he's coming back at some point. He will. Jerome Ford did a pretty good job of handling the ball. Kareem Hunt's not there to back him up. But so there's that question there too. If you get later in the season, you have 80% of what Nick Chubb could be, 70% of what Nick Chubb could be in that scheme. Yeah, that you could play Cleveland football and run the ball. Maybe you don't need Deshaun to do what he can do, and you have these pop-up games where like Amari Cooper just goes nuts for I know a lot of that was with Flacco last year, but he's prone to have the breakout game every now and then too. So I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't I wouldn't count on it.
All right,
for the Browns.
Thank you both for that. I'm just curious about that. Let's go to the Bengals. Some Shady out here. New hairdo, new stuff going on. Joe Burrow, that is, for those that aren't aware that he has now bleach blonde hair. I'm just very intrigued to see what's going to happen with Jamar Chase. Are they going to pay him? Or are they going to continue to wait? Because the stance that they're rumored to have taken at this point in time is that you're still under contract and we don't have to pay you yet. Where Jamar Chase is saying that I've outpaced this contract, which he has, in my belief. And I believe he should get paid. But outside of that, I'm curious to see what this Bengals team is like. I don't know. While they have fallen from being in the Super Bowl, being in the Chiefs, but always play the Chiefs tough, I'm wondering if now what looks around them, the AFC has gotten stronger. since last year. So I'm wondering if they're still the cream of the crop at this point in time, even with Joe Burrow there. Is Joe Burrow still that guy? I think a lot of answers to my questions will definitely unravel very, very soon. But I'm just curious of what this team is going to look like. There's contracts that are going to continue to get bigger on that team, and these receivers are going to continue to leave, and this team is going to look different. And I'm curious to see, again, what Joe Burrow looks like, because he came into the league with his college wide receiver and immense talent around him. So I want to see what Joe Burrow looks like when he only has potentially one target, a major target or whatnot. On the opposite end, you have the Ravens, who were so close and they were the best team in football last year throughout the whole entire year, and absolutely choked against the Chiefs, and somehow, somebody forgot to run, which was one of their major strengths. So they go out and get a bulldozer that can run through a brick wall in Derrick Henry. And now I'm curious of, does this move put them over the top? Does Lamar and the team have an opportunity to now finally get to the Super Bowl? So I believe they have the opportunity to do so, and that is my choice, but I'll leave it to you gentlemen to continue to talk about it.
I think Joe Burrow is going to come back with a vengeance. I think his game is tremendous. I think he's top 3 quarterback. I would have Mahomes, Allen, and then Burrow. I like the roster around him. I think they have time to figure out the Jamar Chase contract situation. So their first 5 games are New England, at Kansas City, probably an L. Then they play Washington and then at Carolina. So if they can start 3-1, and get things sorted out, I think they'll be in a great place going into the middle of the season, and then a tougher end to their schedule. But I still believe in the Bengals. They obviously last year was a very down year. They didn't have Burrow. And he's one of the best signal callers in the league. So I kind of see them getting back to where they should be and where they were prior to last year.
Yeah, I like Joe Burrow a lot. He could. I have him. I have him as MVP right now. I think they'll definitely be in the title game if it all. Again, it all goes to plan, right? Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow hasn't. There hasn't been many preseasons. I think there was only one, aside from this one, where he was actually healthy, right? And then he had that calf strain last year that talked about a lot. That offense looked like a shell of itself. And a lot of that was with Burrow. He could not get, his guys open. He could not get the ball to his guys. And he has, one of the top duos in the league. Now, I know T's on a franchise tag. He's likely out. They're gonna pay one of them. It's likely Jamar. I know they're talking right now. I heard these petty things, like he wants to be the highest paid by a penny over JJ. Maybe, do I think he just, deserves it? Yeah, I think him and Justin Jefferson are the best in the league. You can throw a CD in there too. I think Joe Burrow was starting to click. I think this Bengals offense was starting to click, and then he got hurt on that Thursday night game. And Jake Browning didn't do too bad of a job, but I think he's got that chip on his shoulder. Slim Shady's, he's buying into it. I just think it's, I like his just character. I like this Bengals team. And not having Joe Mixon there, not, if you look at his efficiency stats and just as a runner, he's had some big games, but I think this is addition by subtraction too, in a sense. Chase Brown, team's been really high on him for a while. I think Zach Moss will be the starter. We saw what he can do in random spots throughout the league, especially last year with when what Jonathan Taylor was hurt. So I like it. There's questions on the defense. There will always be questions on that Cincinnati defense. And that's what happens when you have to pay these guys on the offense. But The Ravens, yeah, I know their schedule's really tough, and if you just look at strength of schedule, which I know could get flipped on its head after week 1, you know, the Bengals are 6th easiest schedule, and I think the Baltimore's near the bottom. I think they're at 28th or 29th. So I have those questions. I'm never downing Derrick Henry again, though, because I feel like every year, whether it's in fantasy football or anywhere else, you count Derrick Henry out, and he's just running through dudes. And I think this is I think that, you know, you sign a guy like Derrick Henry, you're going to use him. I think it's going to take a lot off of Lamar. I think Lamar is very good passer. I think he's made light years strides as a passer, and it's helped win him 2 MVPs. So do I like this team? Yeah. I either one of these teams could make it to Super Bowl, and I would not blink here. That's why I think it's really going to be a 2-team race here.
Well, Harrison and I picked the same team here, and we both picked the Ravens, and you picked the Bengals.
Yeah, it could be any of those. It could be the Browns. Like, it could be the Steelers. I think the Steelers are going to be the most annoying team to play in the league. Like, they're going to win some games where it's going to be old school 13-10. Like, it's going to be weird. Like, they're going to do some weird stuff. I don't care, like, that Russell Wilson cannot throw the ball anymore. I don't care that Justin Fields is totally inaccurate at most of the time. I think they're just going to run the hell out of you, and they're going to stop, and they're going to smash your mouth in on defense, and they're going to be a beast to play. And I wouldn't sleep on them.
Yeah, I wasn't too fond of them. You know, I don't know how we ended up talking about the Steelers last week doing the NFC. Maybe it was just kind of looking at it like I don't feel really good about it. I know the strength of schedule is really tough. And it could just be preseason. You're running vanilla offenses. You're not, you know, it's easy to, you know, it's easy to be the pinata when you're Arthur Smith, and you had all of this talent in Atlanta, and it just didn't come to fruition here. I think Russell Wilson can get the job done for Harrison, exactly what the Steelers want him to do. I mean, Najee's in a contract year. I really like Jaylen Warren. He said during the last preseason game he got hurt. I think he hurt his hamstring a couple weeks earlier. He said if it was week 1, he'd play. I think Arthur Smith will use those guys, Pat Freiermuth and Pickens here, but just overall, I'm not too high on that offense. But the Mike Tomlin's the X factor. You said it, Hayes. Like, he's never been below 500. I have no reason to think he would be this year. He pushes all the right buttons and gets his guys to play for him. There's a reason that this organization's had 3 coaches in their entirety. So,
they won 10 games last year, and I think they're marginally better on offense
with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and whoever else. Like, it's insane. It's insane.
And the defense is loaded. Like there's a blue chipper almost at every position on that defense. It's nuts.
Just think about this before we move on. The Browns last year ended with the number 1 defense. The Ravens ended with the number 6 defense. The Steelers ended with the 21st defense. That is absolutely going to change this year. There is no doubt in my mind that is going to change this year. And you have 2 of the top 10 defenses in one division. That's going to get real spooky real quick. AFC South. You have the Texans, Colts, Jags, and you have the Titans. I will not say anything about the Titans because I don't care what they're going to do down there. Will Levis is going to do whatever he's going to do, and who cares? Jacksonville, you have Sunshine down there. I don't know what he's going to do this year, but he got paid a lot of money to do a lot of things this year. So I feel that they could be a wild card. Not. I think they have the potential of being in the wild card, especially with Doug P running the team and kind of running off of the momentum of last year. If he can shore up, and Trevor Lawrence looked good in the preseason, but again, it's the preseason, so that doesn't hold too much weight with me. But if he is as accurate as he was, it could be really good. But I mean, he might be a fraud like Dabo Sweeney. We'll see. The Colts, though, The Colts. The Colts. Anthony Richardson is going to absolutely ball out this year, and I feel so sorry for teams that have to go against him because he's going to put up numbers if he can stay healthy. He is going to be an absolute problem with Shane Steichen, giving him an offense to be around him. I kind of just can't wait to watch, and I'm so thankful that I'll be watching him every Sunday on the NFL Ticket. And it's not a sponsorship, but they should sponsor us so all three of us can just get it for free or whatever. But super excited and ecstatic to see what goes on there. And then the Texans, I believe they are definitely a Super Bowl contender. It's crazy to think a second-year player can lead a team to a Super Bowl, but it's happened a few times. And with D'Amico Ryans being the guy that oversees that team, I think that is the most underrated part about this team and not talked about much because we keep talking about CJ Stroud, the defense, the wide receivers. Yeah, let's talk about D'Amico Ryans. It's because of him. Every place that he has gone has been elevated. The defense with the Niners, when he was there, top-tier defense. They continue to be that, but he definitely left his blueprint on it. We'll see what happens this year because they have a new defense coordinator. That's another topic. But I can see them being a contender for the Super Bowl. So I'm super intrigued by them for sure.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
What the hell was that?
I don't know. I was waiting for you to say something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
I like this Colt to start off there. I don't remember what order you were doing it. I think it started with the Colts here, but
we started with just completely disregarding the Titans.
I did.
Oh, right.
Which I'm fine with that too, actually.
I just got off a plane from Tennessee. That's fine. I didn't hear anyone. It was just swarmed with volunteer and Commodore fans all over the place. Maybe it's because it's week 1 of college football or whatever.
It's that time of year. Yep.
Yeah. This Colts team could easily be a wild card team. We've seen it. We didn't think the Texans. Didn't think much of the Texans last year, but we liked what they were building. We liked D'Amico, we liked Stroud, and Will Anderson. It all came together. So, yeah, Anthony Richardson is a freak. He's got to start and finish games. I think he only did that twice last year.
Yeah.
I pulled up his combine measurables and compared it. This is from a podcast last March. It was compared to Cam Newton. He's basically Cam Newton. He's a little bit short, like 3/4 of an inch shorter. The same weight. He's got bigger hands. He jumps 5 inches more, and he's got a longer broad jump. Like he's Cam Newton. He's got. I love this team. I like Shane Steichen a lot. I know Hayes feels the same way, and we saw it when he was, on the field. And even with Gardner Minshew, this team was playing really well. And an inconsistent Jonathan Taylor, was he playing? Was he not? And can Pittman take those next steps? Can Josh Downs do it? The wideout that they drafted in the second round, Mitchell, can he do that too? Yeah, and I really like him too. I think. I'm a Chris Ballard stan, as if you've listened to this podcast, you know that. So yeah, totally. They could easily win this division or be a wild card team if Anthony Richardson's healthy. And I like this Texans team. I think Stephon Diggs will, it's a great addition to an offense that it's also already very good. You have Joe Mixon, Tank Dell, Nico Collins, that's a great foundation. CJ Stroud, we're all drinking the Kool-Aid there. It's deserved. So I think it really comes down to those teams. I'm not a Trevor Lawrence hater. I understand paying him. I think he's talented. I don't think he's where anyone thought he could be. I think there's room there. And I believe in Doug Peterson, and he's definitely got the weapons around him to do it. But the thing is, it's sick, but he's got to do it, and he hasn't done it
Yeah.
So can he do it? I don't know.
If he doesn't do it this year, he just doesn't have it.
Well, that's what I mean. It's just
you got Etienne, you got Gabe Davis, you got Brian Thomas Jr., who's going to be an absolute monster, another LSU wide receiver. If he can't do it this year, then he can't do it, and that's
Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram played great last year.
Oh yeah, he's got their weapons everywhere, and
guys on the defense.
So all these teams are so similar in the AFC South. Like those offenses, they're just loaded up and down with talent. You know, the Colts have young talent, the Texans have a little bit more established talent, and Jaguars have a lot of talent, but do they have the signal caller? So I think it'll come down to the defenses in this league. I think all these teams are great fantasy teams. You're going to want a lot of these guys on your fantasy team because there's going to be a lot of points scored. I like the Colts. I think their defense is really bad. But Anthony Richardson could trump that.
So, Harrison, you give a quarterback 3 years to...
No, I think Trevor Lawrence is bad. I'm not a hater.
I said it last week.
I'm not a hater. I just don't think he's very good.
I'm just trying to clarify based off of our conversation that we shared.
I'm with you. How
many years are you saying is enough? Because this is year 3.
Don't you think it differs though?
It definitely differs.
Sam, hold on. Let Harrison answer this one because I want to go at Harrison right now.
That's fine. Honestly, if I look at quarterback for a year or two, I'm not like going to say I'm usually right, but like it's a high success rate. I'm like, this guy's not good. I know this guy's not good.
I just want to know, because we will be continuing this podcast, what you deem is enough to see for a quarterback. Like how many years?
1 or 2, honestly.
Okay. That's all I needed.
I think it depends on the situation. Would you
definitely? I think guys can look better based off a situation. I think guys can look worse off a situation. But if you're just judging the quarterback, I feel like you can tell.
Okay.
And you're going to be wrong. Yeah, you're going to be wrong here and there.
Of course you are. Nobody's perfect.
And we're not in the building. We don't know these things. You hear like famously, like Jamarcus Russell never watched the tape, and all that kind of stuff. And Johnny Manziel was to his own admission too, like just did not care. And they had a lot shorter leashes. We talked about Baker Mayfield, like that situation in Cleveland. I'm not saying like each team is different based on that, but there's just circumstances there.
There's some.
We felt really good about Zach Wilson in the sense of like, okay, he's going to sit. Okay, well, we're going to sit behind Aaron Rodgers. He's not. There's no pressure. He doesn't need to play. Hopefully, he can learn how to play quarterback because he is not an NFL quarterback. Unfortunately, he had to play 12 games last year, and it was really bad. But you could have told me the year earlier that Zach Wilson's just not. It's not it. So I think it just varies. I'm willing to give Trevor Lawrence.
How soon was I out on Zach Wilson? Because it was right away.
It was right away, Frank.
It was right away.
It was.
Like
I will give you props for that.
And I've been wrong the other way too. Like I thought Russell Wilson was a top 5 quarterback for a while, and he was production wise. But looking at the circumstance that he was in, he obviously had a much better team and pieces around him where it kind of masked some of his deficiencies. So I'll be wrong the other way too. But I feel like if a guy is kind of bad early on, I just don't see a lot of rebound. Like it's very rare. I mean, Peyton Manning did it, but that's freaking Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And Baker's done it, but I've liked Baker too. Like I felt he was just in a bad situation.
That's how I felt about Rosen immediately when he was drafted.
You just kind of know.
He's just some guy.
I knew. Yeah.
Usually, where there's smoke, there's fire. I mean, I feel we talked a lot about Geno Smith last week. I feel like he's the outlier there.
Yeah, definitely.
The whole like I'm keeping receipts thing, or the guys aren't writing back. Like that's that. How many times has that happened? How many times have we seen that? And Joe Flacco played well last year, but even in his Super Bowl year, that was kind of a mirage in comparison to like. And again, he had a great team around him. He had a Hall of Fame defense behind him too. So it kind of goes to the Russ thing. Yeah. Russ went to 2 Super Bowls, almost won 2 Super Bowls.
Should have won 2 Super Bowls.
Should have won 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
It's like one of these things where it's like we criticize Josh Allen because he does too much, quote unquote, and he doesn't leverage what was around him. And then he got Stephon and, went to the next level there. And now we'll see, Jalen Hurts. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, or even 2 years ago when they had a phenomenal season and went to the Super Bowl, it's like either Jalen has to do everything or he's like the product of everything around him. Like, I understand that's kind of how the media, quote unquote, looks at things.
Yeah, that narrative is so stupid.
Both things can be true.
I hate it.
Like, Russell Wilson can be good at what he does, and the Legion of Boom could be a legendary defense.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like, both things can, happen. It's not all like Ben Roethlisberger in his first Super Bowl where he just played like garbage. Like, both things can kind of, be true. You don't look at Ben Roethlisberger negatively on the field when you're going to look back at his career, right?
Just to go back to Trevor Lawrence, I think it's where I'm judging him on what he's being asked to do and what he's being asked to be. Am I saying he's a bad quarterback? I don't think he's a bad quarterback, but what they're asking him to be and the hype that was put around him and all that they want him to be, I don't think he's that. And that's just it. Like, I'm not a Trevor Lawrence hater. I'm not a Trevor Lawrence fan. I'm lukewarm, and I don't believe he has it, but I could prove me wrong.
That's the hype always scares me, which is why I know you're big on Caleb, which is why I'm skeptical. Because the hype,
it's a lot of hype.
When I see all that hype, I've watched this story many of times, and that's no fault of the young men that are playing. Like, they're doing their job, they're playing their hearts out, they're doing what they can do in the best of their abilities, and then when they get into the league, they're supposed to continue to grow, right? And the media fuels this ego that these guys did not create themselves, like this thing that around them that they're not saying they live that, but they build this persona about them, and it's like, this guy is this next highly touted guy, and it's all this, and it's like, you can never ever live up to that magnitude, and it's really shitty. I know for Trevor, it was watching that too. It was like, oh, he's this, winning national championships, and it's I've said this on this podcast, and I will continue, and I will die on this hill. Is when you're playing on a stacked team in college, you're going to look good. It's different when you're now the number one pick and you're going to a team that doesn't have this plethora of athletes around you, superstars around you, and now you have to learn and try to be this leader and be this guy, this messiah of this team, and bring them to the promised land. It's so hard to do that because you're going to a bottom of the barrel team, and that's why I said Caleb's situation is a little bit different from all those people, because he's going to a team that he actually has solid people around him, Pro Bowlers around him.
Yeah, I would say it's just there's a lot of hype around Caleb, but also a lot of hate. And then I think that like all of that stuff is like outside ancillary noise. But honestly, when you get down to it and watch them both play, like I watched a ton of Trevor Lawrence at Clemson. I watched a ton of Caleb Williams at USC. They're just Caleb Williams is completely different, playmaking wise, throwing wise. Like, they're just, you can see it. Like, I don't know, like, I'm not a scout, I'm not an expert, but you can just see it. You can just see it, and I never quite saw with Trevor Lawrence, despite him winning with Clemson like the way he did. Because for me, that Clemson team was completely loaded, just like you said, and I just never saw the playmaking ability that a Caleb Williams, where he's getting all this hype, is showing, and then Trevor Lawrence is getting all this hype, and previous to that, like Andrew Luck, he deserved all that hype. Yes, it's very similar,
absolutely.
But you could see it immediately when you watched Andrew Luck. For Trevor Lawrence, I never quite saw it.
I will say that, like, to the Caleb point, and more with USC, like, yeah, he won a Heisman, but the team didn't play well. Like, the team around him wasn't great, sure, but he did not bring the team to that level. And the same kind of thing, like Trevor, like, and again, I'm not looking at stats, and you could
eye test,
old take me to death here in a second, but like, I never felt like Trevor Lawrence statistically like jumped off the page.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He didn't.
And Andrew Luck was kind of similar to that too. But when you looked at Andrew Luck, you were like, yes, he is that John Elway type of prospect.
Yeah.
And again, when you're 6'6" and you have long flowing blonde hair and you play on the best team in football and you're supposed to be really good, it's really easy to just propel you to be
Yes.
the Messiah, as you said, Hayes. So yeah, I will take Trevor Lawrence if the Jags don't want him at this point, because it's just but it's a quarterback league. You're gonna live and die by these guys, and then no matter how good Brock Purdy is, it's gonna be like, I don't want to pay him what Daniel Jones makes because I don't think he's that good. Well, Brock Purdy's played and his team has been a lot more successful than Daniel Jones has, or any other of these guys that we kind of criticize. Why are they paying these dudes? So,
with all that said, gentlemen, because that was absolutely phenomenal, and I know we could have went for hours. We all picked the Texans here. After saying all that, we picked the Texans here. That's pretty pretty clear across the board of who we have. Going to John Elway's team in a division that he was in, it was the AFC West. We have the Broncos, we have the Chiefs, we have the Raiders, and this Los Angeles team would be, what's the Los Angeles team out there?
Wolverines.
Yes, the Wolverines.
The Chargers.
Yeah, that team. I don't really even feel like talking about any of the other teams here because I'm pretty sure we already know who has this locked up, and all three of us already chose the Chiefs. But I do. I'm kind of low key excited to watch Bo Nix.
I was just going to say that, dude.
I honestly feel that he is going to push for Rookie of the Year, and I'm just going to leave that there. You do with it as you may. Sean Payton has found his new Drew Brees, is what I'm going to say. He found his guy that he's been looking for since Drew, and I think he's so ecstatic about it that it could potentially be something. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with that. It's what happened.
That's sacrilegious to me if you look behind
Well, I mean, it's okay. You'll get over it. The Chargers, I mean, Jim Harbaugh is back. With his interesting playlist at OTAs and practice and all that. I'm very curious to see what this team does. Honestly, I think. Wow, that shit just almost clapped me in the face. I think honestly, I had to catch that real quick. Woo. I think honestly they are a year away. And
which team is this? I was distracted by you.
This is the Chargers.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, they're a year away, and I know people are going to be like, "Well, a year away with Herbert. He's been in a year." Yes, I think you got to give Jim Harbaugh's team just a year or so to mold, and you'll start to see what it starts to look like. And I think next year they'll be a true contender for the AFC and will and possibly contend with the Chiefs and at least be a thorn in their back. The Raiders are also very interesting in itself because I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Antonio Pierce. I mean, it's just the quarterback situation. Are they going to be able to get the ball to Devontae Adams? Like, that's all I need to know. If you can get the ball to him, let's see what happens from there. But they have outside of that, I could care less about the Raiders.
Brock Bowers is really good.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
Oh, you want me? I'll continue.
Yeah, go.
I think it's obviously the Chiefs' division to lose. It's going to take probably a Mahomes injury. They've gotten better on.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. Knock on wood. We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that. But they've gotten better on the outside with Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown's a little banged up and not the most reliable, but still a lot of speed. Rashee Rice is not in jail at the moment, so
they're not pressing charges from what I understand.
Yeah,
it seems like he's not going to get suspended this year.
Yeah,
I know the NFL usually waits till
that young man dodged a goddamn bullet. I don't know how he did, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, so Chiefs are obviously loaded. I mean, I'm curious about Bo Nix too. Like, as obviously I've self-proclaimed myself the QB guru, which I'm definitely not, but I have. So Bo Nix is interesting for me. Like, obviously his stats in college were ridiculous. Like over 75% completion percentage, crazy amount of touchdowns. Playing on a loaded Oregon team. Started on Auburn, and he was okay there, and then went to Oregon and really balled out. I like his arm talent, but I'm interested. I'm gonna teeter on the fence with Bo Nix. I am very intrigued to watch him. So
he's definitely the right quarterback for Sean Payton.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
and we kind of all speculated to that, but just seeing in the preseason, for not to cut you off there, Harrison, but I think you saw what Drew Brees did with a solid number one receiver and Alvin Kamara. So
yeah, I'm how I was lukewarm with Trevor Lawrence. I'm like Luke warmer with Bo Nix. Like not Luke, but I'm warmer with Bo Nix. I do think he will be a pretty good NFL quarterback. So I'm excited to watch them for that. Otherwise, I'm not excited to watch the Denver Broncos at all.
No.
And then I don't know if the Chargers are a year away. I think they can definitely make some noise. Their defense is really good. You got, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Asante Samuel Jr. They're very good on that end. If Herbert can
Derwin's
play,
never healthy, but I love him to death.
True.
Yeah. That's a shame.
If he can stay healthy, that defense is very formidable.
Absolutely.
Same with the Raiders. Raiders defense is very good, but what can Minshew do? What can Minshew do? That's like
to be fair,
that's like a wrist bracelet. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair to Gardner Minshew, he's fine. He's like fine. A watered down version of T-Mobile because he is extremely serviceable for every team that he's been on and is able to do it. I just don't think he's a starter. That's just just a good backup.
No. So yeah, Chiefs division for me. I don't have much else to say about any of these teams.
There's all this hype with James Worthy, Xavier Worthy.
Yeah.
And I get it, but like, and I guess I've seen him in college. I didn't watch any Chiefs preseason.
Mm-hmm.
But he
played okay. He played all right.
And look, I'm not going to go against Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. But didn't we do this with Hardman after Tyreek got suspended? Didn't we do this with Sky Moore?
Don't put him.
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm just saying, like, okay, now you and Hollywood Brown. Yeah, if he can be on the field, I don't know if he's going to play in week 1, but like, there's definitely speed there. There's the receiving core is better. We were destroying the Chiefs this time last year because of their receivers. They won the Super Bowl. So and Kelsey was on a unofficial snap count. He barely played, he did not play the amount of snaps that he would usually play because, he's got some miles on him too. But I just question that. Like, I think the Chiefs are going to run away with the division. I think they could win the Super Bowl. I'm not doubting that. I just have we been there?
Your questions are all valid.
Did we think CEH was like this guy?
Your questions. I think currently the Chiefs are in like what I'll call like Patriot place. So the division's a little weaker, but they just organizationally are just so much better than all these other teams, despite their deficiencies that we want to point out. But I think your concerns are all valid. I just don't know who's going to take it from them.
Yeah,
I think your point is like what Harrison just said about the Patriots thing is kind of.
Is that a backhanded compliment?
No.
Oh,
what you just said about that is like very, very spot on. Like when you said it, I started picturing it. I was like, damn, yeah, the Patriots really were in there with just Tom and then Gronk is the tight end and it's just like whoever else at wide receiver and then they just had a really good organization. Like that's a phenomenal way to put that. But here's why I believe Xavier Worthy is different. That young man has that speed, but he also can run routes, and he's going to learn more as he goes. He does have hands. His problem is he's frail right now, but I believe that could be something. Don't forget, Tyreek Hill wasn't the most sought-after guy in college football, and he came on the scene as the best wide receiver in the NFL, right?
Yeah, no doubt.
He find really, really good talent with the Chiefs. So, yes, a lot have missed, but I don't think Xavier Worthy is a miss. What Hollywood Brown does is what Hollywood Brown does. We'll see where that goes. But they don't have Tony anymore, so that's a plus, right?
Juju's back, so
yeah, that's weird.
No, they got some good options out there.
I'm not saying that just because Worthy is the first or second round wideout that has been drafted into arguably the best scheme or one of the best schemes in football that he's going to be like Sky Moore and Mecole Hardman. But I just see a lot of like, okay, can we see it first?
Yeah, no, because it's definitely a rookie.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I know look, I want him to succeed. I like this team. I like this offense. I'm in. But that was my only question there. I think I worry about the Chargers offense. Clearly, they've over the years, it's been well documented on this podcast how many close games they lost because of aggressive or bonehead decisions from their head coach. I think Jim Harbaugh is going to get the best out of these guys. I still think from a talent perspective, Justin Herbert is a one of my favorite quarterbacks, and then just someone you want under center. He's not going to be asked to do what he's done before. That Harbaugh's going to want to run the ball. They brought in Greg Roman with who he had with the Niners, and then was previously with the Ravens, and pretty much brought in the Ravens backfield with him and Gus Edwards, and hopefully J.K. Dobbins can actually play football this year because healthy he's great too. But
speaking of another person that might need to retire.
Yeah, so it's like you draft this just humongous Paul Bunyan of a man and Joe Alt, and you want to pound the ball, and I'm for it, and they'll probably surprise some people. But the plantar fasciitis thing with Herbert's a concern, and who's he going to throw the ball to? I like Josh Palmer as a sneaky wide receiver to draft, but Lad McConkey and Josh Palmer, so we'll see that. It's the Chiefs division.
Yeah, Chargers have an interesting schedule to start. Pretty easy. So home Vegas, at Carolina, at Pittsburgh is going to be tough. At versus KC, at Denver, at Arizona versus Saints. So they could start with some wins, and they could be like, oh, the Chargers.
Second easiest strength of schedule. Their line's 8.5. So I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
If they can go over that line, get 10, 11 wins, they're a playoff team.
They are. Well, speaking of playoffs, because we all have the Chiefs as winners, wildcard picks. Harrison has the Bengals, Steelers, Jets. Sam has the Ravens, Bills, Jets. I have the Colts, Bengals, Bills. So we are all different on this one. I'm not going to ask you guys why. Because that's just too much. But the AFC, I am going to ask you, AFC Championship, I'm going to ask you why you chose this. So Harrison, we'll start with you. You have the Chiefs over the Bills. Why?
Yeah, I think the Bills are going to be tremendously tough to beat at home, and I think they'll have home field advantage, early in the playoffs. So I could see them winning one or two to get to the Chiefs. But I just think the Chiefs will. I think Patrick Mahomes is better than Josh Allen, and that's really all there is. But I think Josh Allen is right there. So I think we'll get that rematch that we've had. It's kind of this will be like a trilogy now. I think they've played twice already in the playoffs, maybe 3 times already, and those games have been instant classics.
Absolutely.
So I think we're lined up for that again this year.
Okay. Sam, you have the Bengals over the Chiefs.
Yeah, I feel good about this Bengals team. I feel good about this Chiefs team, and I would throw the Ravens in there too if I want to hedge a little bit here. But I think easily those 3 teams could represent the AFC. I'm into this Burrow narrative, and I've not been afraid of that in the past. But I
sure have it.
So
I like it. I like it. I love Joe Burrow. I love Joe Burrow. Yeah.
I have the Ravens over the Texans.
I like it.
I know I've said on this podcast that I want to go against Patrick Mahomes again, but I'm going to.
You did it
because I just don't learn sometimes. I believe the Ravens have an opportunity to finally do something with Derrick Henry being somebody behind Lamar Jackson, knowing that he finally has somebody back there that can take the rushing load off of him. That he knows that he can turn the ball around and hand it and know that guy is going to be there because Derrick Henry is rarely hurt, knock on wood. And he is a bulldozer. And as the game goes on, and as you get tired, he gets stronger and runs farther. So, further. Sorry. So he is going to 100% help that team out. To Harrison's point earlier, the Ravens got better as well, defensively as well. They are now, this is year 2 with this offense. They're only going to get a little further immersed in this offense and understand it and the ideology behind it. And I think this is going to help finally propel them to where they're at. And I do just love Lamar Jackson's demeanor always. He's already downplayed the opening game of the season. Like it's ain't nothing, and he's just too cool for school. So I do respect that. But the Texans being there, as I said earlier, with D'Amico Ryan, when you have a leader of men, that can unlock talents that other people couldn't. There's a lot of things that teams like that can do, and we've watched it happen. The teams have done so much more with less. So I believe that they have the capability of doing it, and they have the right pieces in place. Super Bowl. This is how I know Harrison is not an Eagles fan. He has the Chiefs over the Eagles. Why do you have the Chiefs over the Eagles?
I just think it's so no team has ever won 3 Super Bowls in a row in NFL history. I think the Chiefs are going to have, they don't need the chip on their shoulder to do it, but I think they're going to have huge motivation to do it. I think Patrick Mahomes is going to continue to kind of put things up on his shelf and enter into that conversation of, is he better than Tom Brady? So following along with that narrative, I have the Chiefs winning. I think they'll be able to get it done again, but they could also not. I like the Ravens. I like the Bengals. Texans are right.
Yeah.
I do like the AFC a lot more than the NFC. I think the NFC is just weaker. I mean, obviously that's no hot take, but I think the NFC is just weaker on a whole. So I'm going to roll with the Chiefs, and I'm going to roll with some history.
Respect that. Sam has the Bengals over the Eagles.
I had the Chiefs. I changed it in the middle of the podcast. Wow. I just copy paste what Harrison said here. I mean, and sprinkle in what I just said about the Bengals. But again, I like this Eagles team a lot, as you know, and I'm smart enough to know that I don't know what I don't know. So I'll just leave it at that.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Fair. No, you can't say that. I have the Birds. Eagles actually over the Ravens by a field goal.
That's weird.
I just believe the shit talk that has been happening about Jalen Hurts throughout this whole entire offseason is going to light an absolute fire under his ass. They've said that he can't. He's flat out said that he didn't have the opportunity to make changes at the line. That was really Kelsey, and he had the whole opportunity this whole summer. You've had Anonymous, which I love Anonymous people in the NFL, but an anonymous defensive coordinator said that Jalen Hurts cannot handle the zero blitz. And I've watched plenty of quarterbacks talk about it throughout the offseason and said Jalen didn't have the answers, and that's the coach's job to provide that, is to have the answers and outlet, which if you don't play in the NFL and you're not a quarterback in NFL and you're not in those rooms, you don't understand that. So to Sam's point, I'm not intelligent enough to know what goes on in those, but when the people that are in those locker rooms or have been in those locker rooms in those rooms know what's going on and they're talking about that, I listen to them, not just the idiots out here that have never played a snap in the NFL. I just think they have all the pieces to do what they're supposed to do. It can easily falter. I'm not going to even hold you on that one. It can easily falter, and I can easily see the Ravens winning. But I just have them winning by a field goal. So not by one, just there.
If the Eagles won on a field goal, would you even be like alive for the next show?
Yes. Okay. My tear ducts may be swollen because I would definitely cry like a little bitch again. But I would be so happy, and there's so many people on the list that I have so many things to say to. And I've kept that list for a while. So I'm just gonna wait.
Just like Amon-Ra St. Brown, you keep a list of everyone drafted ahead of you.
No. This list is worse.
Memorize it.
This list is worse, and it's a lot of people on there that you both know. So let's just put it that way. I've kept receipts. MVP. Harrison has Josh Allen. Sam, you have Joe Burrow. I have Jalen Hurts. Gentlemen, would you like to share why you chose those people, or should I continue going?
I said it. I'm
Yeah, mine's pretty
we're gonna-
obvious with who I've picked for the division.
Okay,
And how
so
far I've
we'll
thought they're going.
continue going. Offensive Rookie of the Year. Sam and I both have Caleb, which I'm surprised. Harrison went with Jaden Daniels after he's been parading Caleb around. Why?
I think just because of the less amount of pieces around him, I think his numbers are going to be stupid running and throwing. I think just number wise, he's going to be
billion yards, man.
Yeah, I think number wise, he'll win it. I think Caleb will be, in general, a better player, but I could see if Jaden stays healthy, which has been my concern with him. I think he's kind of fairly built, he's like RG3-ish to me, a little taller. But if he can stay healthy, he's like Sam said, he's going to run for stupid numbers.
I think we need to do this, and it's not you, Harrison, when I say this, is we need to stop talking about these guys coming from college that have been eating ramen in on a hot plate and stop calling them so goddamn frail. They just
he's KD, like he's built KD built.
I know, but that's also who I had in my mind frame, and KD's a Hall of Famer, and we've been talking about KD's frame since stepping on a court and into the limelight.
I had no concerns. Football is so much different. You got 340-pound guys on it. Like,
I mean, Jaden Daniels is running into, I'm just thinking of the linemen on your Eagles team, Brian Burns and Thibodeau, and like it's.
But don't forget those big boys were also in college too, and they're in college right now too. And he's been running into guys that size as well too. So.
And those questions existed when he was at LSU or at Arizona before that.
Like won a Heisman, why those questions existed, So
he was dinged up here and there.
Of course, absolutely. That's just me speaking to things that come out of my brain. Coach of the Year, I have Shane Steichen. Sam has Matt Eberflus, and Harrison has Jonathan fucking Gannon.
I love it.
Go Birds! I picked the Cardinals to do a lot this year. So if they actually do it, he has to be.
Could you imagine if Jonathan Gannon wins Coach of the Year?
No. I guess I did because I wrote it on this paper, but.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine?
Oh my God.
What are the odds on that?
I'm looking it up.
Oh my God, that is painful to look at. Jesus, wow.
Plus 1,600.
I got nothing for that.
Plus 1,600.
Yeah, it's actually not
won
bad.
like 4.5 games last year, or they won like 4 or 5 games last year. So
that's my theory.
I'm not even going to entertain that with a comment. I'm just going to say, folks, we will be giving you our picks later this week. I assume, gentlemen, before the first game. The first game is Thursday night. You have the Chiefs Ravens. Friday we have the Eagles and the Packers in Brazil during a wildfire and apparently a bunch of criminal activity around them because the NFL thinks this is such a good goddamn idea for this to happen that way. But anything for money. So we'll give you our first picks. Gentlemen, anything before we decide to leave here?
Let's go Gannon.
Sam?
Nah, I'm good.
Okay. I will say this before you close it out, Sam. Sending prayers to Ricky Pearsall for getting shot in an attempted robbery. That sounds absolutely terrible. He was lucky that apparently the bullet went directly through. Instead of being lodged, which would have caused way more damage. So giving a shout out to the Niners rookie, because that is absolutely terrible to hear. That's all I have for that. Oh, and also, what's the hockey player?
Goudreau.
Yes.
Sending
love to that whole family. That is absolutely tragic. If you don't know the story, in town for their sister's wedding the following day, was hit by a drunk driver, and both lost their lives. Just ridiculous. Again, as we've talked about on here with professional athletes, and this gentleman was a civilian that just ran these beautiful souls over. If you know that you're going to drink and you know you're going to get to that point, call an Uber. It's not that much. If you're a friend and you know that your friend is drunk, and have them stay at your place, drive them home. If you both are in that position, pay for an Uber. Text me if you're one of my friends. If you need a little money for that, I'll send you it, because you can change your life and a whole family's life just by turning the key. And it's just to think that they were going to celebrate and have a monumental moment in their family, and now they have a monumental moment in their family, but not for a good reason. Sending love to that family for sure.
Well said.
Yeah, well said.
Thank you. Sam,
Yeah,
close the phone out, good sir.
Yeah, see you guys next week. We'll recap week 1 in NFL and give us our, the winners and guys and teams that need to play a little better. We won't say losers, but things we don't like. But yeah, on that note, so for Branden and Harrison, I'm Sam. Thanks so much for listening. Tell your friends. Check us out on Instagram for our week 1 picks and more. Peace.
Go Birds.
Go Birds.